Jesus was predestined in His death. Jesus was, number one, proven in His life, and number two, Jesus was predestined in His death. You see, after referencing all this overwhelming proof that Jesus is the Christ, and Peter answered the question. He explained what happened. How did He die? Well, He was predestined to die. Get that? Jesus' death was not a mistake. It was not a departure from the plan of God. It was not a reason not to trust Jesus. Rather, it was exactly a reason to trust Him. Jesus' death was exactly God's plan from before time even. Jesus was handed over, He was delivered over, that word, by means of God's own purpose, by means of God's own will. It was God's will. It was God's plan, predetermined, meaning God, that word predetermined, it means God set the limits. It means God drew the lines and God designated and appointed exactly what would happen. So by means of God's predetermined plan, that happened. And that predetermined plan is paired with His foreknowledge here in verse 23. You need to know foreknowledge is more than God merely knowing the future. It's a commitment. It's a commitment that He is making. Romans 8:29, you see it, that those whom He foreknew, people God foreknew, He also predestined to become conformed to the image of His Son. Romans 8:29 does not say God foreknew about people. It says He foreknew people. And so it's not a mere knowledge about the future. It is a foreknowing in relationship. It is a foreloving, a forecommitting, a purpose. It appears in Romans 11:2 after Romans 9 explains that God loved those whom He chose before they were born and could do good or bad. In other words, foreknowledge is that way of choosing, loving, committing to that relationship, so that 1 Peter 1:2 addresses Christians as those chosen according to the foreknowledge of God the Father, meaning God chose them because He committed to them. He loved them. And so verse 23 says Jesus' death happened by means of that kind of commitment, that loving commitment and foreknowing in that way, that predestined plan of the Father. That's what He carried out. You would know it in the phrase in Isaiah chapter 53:10. The Lord was pleased to crush him, right? It was His will. It was His plan.